Long before the first refrigerator was sold, almost everyone owned a root cellar. The root cellar kept apples, carrots, turnips, potatoes, and squash throughout the winter, sustaining the family through those cold wintry months. Salted and smoked meats, milk, cream, and cheese were also kept in the root cellar to stay cool and fresh. A root cellar is the natural choice for the prepper. The low-tech root cellar will keep your fruits and vegetables fresh for 2 months or longer, depending on what you store, without electricity. In addition, you can store your canned foods in your root cellar, extending their storage life. There are several types of root cellar and different ways in which to construct one. There's the hatch cellar, hillside cellar, the underground cellar, and the above ground cellar. The hatch cellar usually consists of a large hole dug into the ground, then lined with rocks, blocks, or bricks. The floor is just plain dirt. Beams and plywood sheets laid over the hole, with a hatch door in the ceiling/floor, along with the installation of a ladder for access. A shed is then built over the top of the cellar, overlapping the walls by about 3 feet on each side. The hillside cellar is dug out of a hillside, lined with rocks, and then a plywood ceiling is attached to overhead support beams. This type of cellar has a regular insulated door to walk through. The above ground cellar is made from a wooden frame, covered thickly with sod on the outside, lined inside with rocks, with a regular insulated door at the front. An underground cellar is somewhat of a combination of the other three, and is arguably the most effective type. A hole large enough for a man to stand inside and work is dug. Then an area is hollowed out of the side of the hole, similar to a hillside cellar. Support beams are then put into place, and the walls lined with rock, bricks, or blocks. A ladder is installed for access into the hole, or in some cases stairs are built. Finally, a wooden frame is built over the hole and covered thickly with sod on the outside. An insulated door is installed at the main entrance and a second door at the below ground level, much like an above ground cellar. The deeper a cellar is dug, or in the case of an above ground cellar, the more earth placed around it, the more stable the temperature within the cellar will be. At just 2 feet below ground, temperature begins to stabilize. A cellar must be a full 10 feet deep, however, for complete temperature stability to be realized. Shelves are installed in each type of cellar, 3 inches or so away from the walls, to allow air to circulate and prevent the growth of molds. An exhaust pipe is installed through the ceiling to allow warm air to escape, and an intake pipe is then added at the lowest level possible so that fresh, cool air can enter the cellar, forcing the warm air out through the exhaust pipe. A root cellar can be built just about any size, and the size should be dictated by your own personal needs. Methods have been used to create a miniature root cellar from a plastic trash can or chest freezer with success. As a rule of thumb, an 8 by 10 foot root cellar will store about 60 bushels of fresh produce. Many people have constructed root cellars inside their basements or the crawl space under their homes. With this method, insulated walls are constructed inside the basement, partitioning a corner of the basement. A basement window is then removed from the cellar and replaced with a solid piece of wood. An exhaust pipe is then attached to the ceiling and extended through a hole cut into the upper part of the plywood, while an intake pipe is placed near the floor of the cellar and extended through this lower part of the plywood. The important thing is to think outside the box and don't allow yourself to become discouraged if the more common forms of cellar are not realistic for your personal situation. With a bit of ingenuity and adaptation, some form of root cellar is within the grasp of most of us. Root vegetables are usually not harvested until the first autumn frost when a root cellar is to be used for their storage. This ensures that the cellar is at or near the ideal temperature before the harvest is to be stored, thus increasing the storage time possible and allowing time for more space to be made in the root cellar as the earlier harvested produce is consumed. This is perfectly safe for your harvest, as most root crops are biennials. It is nature's intention that these plants survive the winter so that they may produce seed the following year. Humidity is a major factor in the root cellar, regardless of type. Humidity will vary depending on which part of the world you are located. If you're located in an arid area, for example, you will need to adjust the humidity by adding a pan of water in the floor of the cellar and possibly damp towels over your fruits and vegetables to raise the humidity and prevent the food from shriveling. If, on the other hand, you live in a damp area, you will be faced with high humidity. These extremes call for a deep, insulated root cellar with steps leading down to an insulated entrance door. As most of the food will stay fresh at moderate temperatures and humidity, it will spoil quickly if exposed to high temperatures and humidity. In spring and fall, when evenings are cool and days are warm, when rain is not expected, benefit can be gained by opening the door to the root cellar shortly after sunset and the door closed at sunrise. This will allow the cool air to fill the cellar overnight, and the insulative properties of the cellar will help to maintain that temperature throughout the day. Many fruits release ethylene gas in storage, and while small amounts will not affect other stored foods, it does speed their aging process and make some vegetables bitter. Only pick the best fruit of the bunch for storage. Use the bruised fruits right away or for canning or jellies. Wrap each piece of fruit individually and place it in cardboard boxes, or bury the fruit in boxes filled with sand to increase your storage time. In the northernmost areas, it is possible for the temperature inside a root cellar to dip below 32 degrees. In such a case, a space heater, heat lamp, or hot coals should be placed inside the root cellar to prevent freezing of your precious food storage. It is imperative to keep the inside of the root cellar dark and to inspect your storage once per week. Remember that one bad apple can spoil the whole basket. Even though it is against our instincts, produce should not be washed prior to storage, as this will hasten the spoilage. Resist any urges to wash your harvest until it is removed from the root cellar for consumption. If you have plans to use a root cellar, it is best to familiarize yourself with the longevity of stored produce of each variety. As a rule of thumb, fruits and vegetables with higher water content, such as greens or spinach, will have a shorter storage life, while those with lower moisture, such as potatoes, carrots, and turnips, will have a much greater storage life. The information within this video was not intended to provide every bit of knowledge needed to build and utilize a root cellar. Instead, my hopes are that this video will provoke thought and further research. Below, you will find a few links that you may find useful in your research, as well as links to a book that was recommended by nearly every website that I researched in preparation for this video. While a root cellar is not as convenient as modern methods, it is a method that works and has been proven for hundreds of years. Perhaps this ancient technology, or some variation, can be utilized to make your life a bit more comfortable after the lights go out. I thank you for taking your time to view and listen to this video. I encourage any questions, comments, or suggestions that you may have to offer. After all, we're all in this together.